We are beginning today Canto 2, The Growth of the Flame. The poet first describes the special nature of that country where Savitri is born, where she is growing, the high culture that it has attained, and in describing the various sciences, architecture, music, dance, and other branches, he gives the essentials of ideal sciences, and he hints that the atmosphere in which Savitri grows is permeated by these high points of culture and life. And of course, there is the hint that by her very presence, Savitri has been enriching the contributions of these different branches of learning to the growth of humanity. First, the country, the kingdom of Madra, a land of mountains and wide sun-baked plains and giant rivers racing to vast seas, a field of creation and spiritual hush. It is a mountainous region with large plains, huge rivers, and it is a creative country, a field of creation, not something that lives on its past stagnant, but a dynamic, creative spirit and spiritual hush. There is a silence of the spirit pervading the entire creative enterprise. Silence swallowing life's acts into the deeps. All the activities and movements of life are absorbed in the silence behind. Of thought's transcendent climb and heavenward leap. Here, thought doesn't run in circles, in logic, but it leaps beyond itself. Thought's transcendent climb and heavenward leap. That is, thought doesn't become a binding force, a brooding world of reverie and trance. It is a world of contemplation where the best minds brood over the problems of life, search for the realities, and in so doing, they go into trance, filled with the mightiest works of God and man. This is an ancient country, and all the best that man has achieved, all the best that God has given, they are all focused here, where nature seemed a dream of the divine, so beautiful, so eerie, that it looks as if it is a dream of God. And beauty and grace and grandeur had their home. Such a country harbored the childhood of the incarnate flame, the divine flame that has taken human form. It is harbored in its childhood in such a blessed, fortunate country. Over her watched millennial influences from above, which are centuries old. They are watching over her growth, and the deep Godheads of a grandiose past, all the Godheads that have taken shape out of past history, past effort, looked on her and saw the future's Godheads come. The Godheads of the past are alive. The ideals, the highest thoughts, the highest aspirations, the highest products of culture, spiritual life, they are the Godheads, and they watch her and they prepare. The future's Godheads come. That is, history is not a static thing. It moves from the past to the present, from the present to the future, and the Godheads of the past preside over the Godheads of the preside over the present and prepare the field for the Godheads of the future. Looked on her and saw the future's Godheads come, as if this magnet drew their powers unseen. The future Godheads are drawn here as if the magnet of, that is Savitri, draws them to the earth. Earth's brooding wisdom spoke to her still breast. The accumulated and the contemplative wisdom of the earth being speaks to her still breast. That is, her being is silent, and that is why it can listen to what earth speaks to her. So one has to be still in mind and still in the heart to listen to the voice of wisdom, whether it comes from the earth or from heaven. Earth's brooding wisdom spoke to her still breast, mounting from mind's last peaks to mate with gods, making earth's brilliant thoughts a springing board to dive into cosmic vastnesses. The knowledge of the thinker and the seer. This is the noun. The knowledge of the thinker and the seer. The best of the knowledge that has been produced by the thinker and the seer who sees what is beyond the physical range, that this mental knowledge, mounting from mind's last peaks to companion with the gods above, making earth's brilliant thoughts a springing board. The brilliant thoughts are not allowed to form a kind of a ceiling, closing everything, but they form a springboard. In the swimming pool and all that, you have a springboard. Similarly, the highest and the most brilliant thoughts of the earth form a sort of a springboard to soar above into cosmic vastnesses. The knowledge of the thinker and the seer saw the unseen and thought the unthinkable. That is, what is unseen normally by the human being, that is now seen by this transcending knowledge, and what is not capable of being thought out, unthinkable, that is brought into the experience of thought, saw the unseen and thought the unthinkable, opened the enormous doors of the unknown. All that is unknown, its doors are huge, and this leaping knowledge, leaping effort, opened the doors of the unknown, rent man's horizons into infinity. Horizons which so far limited the vision and the mind of man, they are open, torn, and spread out into infinity. That is, in her mind, she has soared above the highest thought that has been evolved and has opened out into the vastitudes of infinity. A shoreless sweep was lent to the mortal's acts as a result. There was no boundary that could confine human movements, human activities. And art and beauty sprang from the human depths. Nature and soul, wide in nobility. Normally, nature and soul are at conflict. Nature denies what the soul wants, and the soul goes beyond nature. So they are normally looked upon as contraries. But here, both of them outreach each other in nobility. Nature becomes noble, and the soul also becomes noble. Ethics, the human keyed to imitate heaven. The construction of the sentence is, ethics keyed the human to imitate heaven. What's the role of ethics? Ethics, standards of conduct, are intended to refine the human nature so as to approximate to our ideal of godly nature, or to put it in picturesque terms, so that the earth looks like heaven, all with ideal conduct, everybody good. To prepare the earth to look like heaven, imitate heaven, is the purpose of high ethics. In other words, first to humanize the primitive man, and then to process the human to approximate to the divine. That is ethics. We mentioned that Sri Aurobindo gives in a key way the essentials of each branch of knowledge conduct. So here, ethics keyed the human to imitate heaven. This refers to the general country in which he lives. The harmony of a rich cultured stones refined the sense and magnified its reach, to hear the unheard and glimpse the invisible. Now here he describes the rich culture of that kingdom, and in describing it he gives what should be the object of culture. Says, first, harmony. It has so many tones and all should be in harmony. The harmony of a rich culture stones refine the sense. Senses, they are normally gross, crude, and culture is designed to refine them, to make them presentable, partake something of beauty. So he says, refine the sense and magnified its reach. The sense can reach only to sense objects, but a physical sense objects. A primitive man, a crude man wants his senses rush towards food, for animal enjoyments, for gross satisfactions. But a cultured man, his senses are aesthetic also. They may be gross in some ways, but there is a cultivated taste, and of a cultured person, the senses seek an aesthetic enjoyment. Beauty, harmony, symmetry, right proportion, sharing in the good of others. Now that it enlarges the range of the senses. That's the one of the objectives of culture, to hear the unheard and glimpse the invisible. In its higher effort, it refines the ear so that you can hear subtler sounds. You can also see what you normally do not see with the physical eye, and taught the soul to soar beyond things known. The being is not allowed to stay put with things that are normally known and experienced, but it aspires, it hopes to reach beyond, inspiring life to greaten and break its bounds. A normal human life is earthy, always looking towards the earthy enjoyments, earthy satisfactions. But here, culture inspires life to greaten, to widen, to elevate, to be elevated and break its bounds, not stay limited to the terrestrial boundaries, aspiring to the immortal's unseen world. Human life is taught by culture to aspire to reach the unseen world of the immortal. Now the narration is related to Savitri in the next portion. Leaving earth's safety, daring wings of mind, the earth assures a certain safety. We can always be sure whether what we think, what we plan corresponds to facts of life, to facts on earth. Otherwise we say it is imagination and leave it. So that assures a certain safety to timid minds. But in the case of Savitri, leaving earth's safety, daring wings of mind bore her above the trodden fields of thought, above the normally accustomed fields of thought, crossing the mystic seas of the beyond. There are the seas of consciousness, the seas of existence beyond thought. Even those were crossed to live on eagle heights near to the sun of truth on the crest. Eagle heights, eagle to show wide vision. An eagle is supposed to grasp everything that goes on below by a single look. To live on eagle's heights near to the sun. There is a sun beyond. That is the sun of truth, on seeing whom the Rishi exclaims in the Veda, He is the most beautiful face. And suddenly he realizes and he says, there he am I. Suddenly it flashes to him, he is not other. That magnificent, beautiful person is not other, but it is myself. And he am I, Soham. Now this sun, towards that sun, she is taken to live. There wisdom sits on her eternal throne. Mark that knowledge leads and arrives at wisdom. As we have already noted, wisdom is something different from knowledge. Even an illiterate man, a man who has not attended your school or college or university, he has a wisdom of his own. We call it practical wisdom, maybe a villager, but that wisdom is not a mental wisdom. It is a kind of a cream of his soul's experience, whether gathered in this birth or in others' experience. There is a society, collective society in which you live, and that society and a member of that society shares in that wisdom. That wisdom is relevant to their kind of life. So wisdom is there on all levels. It is not a product of intellectual knowledge, but of evolution. And here he says, wisdom sits on her eternal throne. All her life's turns led her to symbol doors. There are doors, openings, symbolic, and all the turns of her life lead her to those doors, admitting to secret powers that were her kin, admitting her into the realm of the secret power, Shaktis. which are realized ultimately to be her own kin. Kin is related to her. She belongs to their kingdom. When she is admitted to those secret powers, she finds they were her own kin. Adept of truth, initiate of bliss. Now these are all adjectives of Savitri. Adept of truth, experienced in the ways of truth. Initiate of bliss, who is authorized, authenticated in the ways of bliss. A mystic acolyte trained in nature's school. Nature is supposed to run a school. Our life is a school, school of nature. And she is an acolyte, a student studying under a master, a faithful disciple. A mystic, not ordinary, mystic. Aware of the marvel of created things, she is fully conscious of the wonder of creation. She laid the secrecies of her heart's deep muse, contemplation, musings. The secrecies, there are so many secrets which have formed and gathered in her heart. Trained as she has been in nature's school, adept that she is of truth, initiate that she has been of bliss, she laid the secrecies of her heart's deep muse upon the altar of the wonderful Godhead of the universe, the Master of the universe. Upon his altar, that platform on which he is worshipped, she places the secrecies of her heart. Her hours were ritual in a timeless fane. Fane is a small temple, and each hour of hers was, as it were, a worship, a moment of ritual worship in an eternal temple, a timeless fane where time comes to a standstill in that temple. Her acts became gestures of sacrifice. Her daily acts turned into symbols of inner movements of sacrifice, self-giving, sacrifice to the wonderful, embodying the impulse and the aspiration of the earth being. I think we could stop there.